The Mystery of BELICENA VILLCA. 5th Book. Epilogue, or Prologue. Chapter 4. 15 minutes later, I was for second time in my life rolling through the street of Squire. We were Uncle Kurt, me, and the Docs Davis. It is precise to take them, for the doubts that they can tend us an ambush, he explained me. But those demons are proud and they suppose that they will never miss a hit. It is possible that they're already in Shambhala, or complying another of their macabre missions. He remained thoughtful for a moment, and he added with lugubrious tone, "Heavens, Echiro, where do you suppose that they will go then, if as we fear they have already passed through Cerrillos? To Tucuman, to Tafudel Vale, to the Kekra of BELICENA VILLCA," I responded unhesitatingly. That probability, and what could have happened in Cerrillos, took us away the desires to talk during the rest of the journey. Exhausting journey, if it is considered the nocturnal hurry, the bad roads, the fact that we had a day without sleeping, and the recent physical effort caused by the attack of the demons. The chains of the Church of Cerrillos called to the Mass of the 8, when we passed in front of it. And 100 meters before arriving to the palisade of the property, we already knew that something really terrible had happened. The rotative lights in the ceiling of the police's patrols confirmed tragically our suspicions and fears. Ignoring the policeman that guarded the entrance, Uncle Kurt turned the jeep and took the path towards the city at great speed. Evidently now, nothing mattered to him, neither his strategic coverture, nor the possible persecutions if he was discovered, nor that according to his new identity nothing linked him with the Signal von Superman. Poor Uncle Kurt. In 35 years never dared to cross the palisade to visit his only sister, and now he had to do it for his funeral. Because everyone had died, even my mother, that's to say, his sister Beatrice. And in the most terrible way. Parked next to the palisade, behind the Tahibos, where I received in hands of my mother the factitic letter of BELICENA VILLCA, were 4 cars. 2 police patrols, and 2 ambulances. At one side of the Tahib, my favorite, beneath its blessed shadow, I studied my university careers, and meditated about the mystery of man, and his miserable terrestrial existence, was the lifeless body of Cornuto, covered by some bloody newspapers. How much had changed such place in just 2 months? The happiness of the family had turned in death and bereavement. Damn letter of BELICENA VILLCA. If just I would have not read it. I tortured myself pointlessly. As I said at the beginning. But in the life of some persons, there are traps carefully placed. It is enough to touch a spring, to unchain irreversible mechanisms. At feeling the motor of the jeep, many men went out from the house. One of them was the police commissar of Cerrillos, who knew me since I was a child. "Jesus, Echiro Signal. Just in time," he said without thinking, because then he regretted, looked down, and putting one hand over my shoulder, he spoke me cautiously. It means, all delicately that a policeman can say, faced to a hallucinatory multiple homicide. Uncle Kurt remained stood beside me. "Excuse me, Echiro. The truth is that you have not arrived at time. I just said it thinking in the investigation, because we ignored where to find you. I don't know how to say it, understand that I am a cop, not a priest, but you must know that all your family has been murdered in strange mode." I fainted to the interior of the house, due to none body had been loaded on the ambulances, but the commissar stopped me. "Wait a second, Echiro, but it is my duty to interrogate you. Did you know that something had happened here? From where do you come now?" "Oh yes," I affirmed hastily. I knew that something wrong was happening, because no one answered the phone of the property this morning. It was for that reason that we left immediately here. "But where you did the call, where were you?" He wanted to know without excuses. "Well, in the property of this friend present here, Mr. Sereno Sanguedels, who is candy maker, in Santa Maria of Catamaca, and with whom I was adjusting a business to sell him our leftover worth. Since some days ago that I was there. Okay, Echiro, I will verify it. You are the medic, and it is supposed that must possess cold blood, but this is different. He, or the killers, are without doubt psychopaths. Perhaps they escaped from the hospital where you work. They have committed the crimes with a savagery never seen here. You better enter prepared. In the interior the disorder was total, after the pass of the unknown cops that executed their even more unknown expertises. In the dinner room, the edges of 2 tables had been leaned, and upon them were deposited the 5 corpses. Prudent bedsheets covered the exposition of the bodies. Uncle Kurt tightened one of my arms with his steel hand, and he discovered the same corpse by himself. Beatrice! He screamed. Mom, oh Mom! What have they done to you? I screamed, desperate at verifying that the sweet countenance of my mother, tensed now by a grimace of indescribable horror, appeared beheaded from ear to ear. Do you see? Commented the Kersaramis. It is about the most aberrant criminal act that I have seen in my life, incomprehensible, undoubtedly product of a sick mind. The next bodies corresponded to my sister Catalina, and her 2 sons, Enric and Federico. They didn't show signal of any violence. We thought that they were poisoned, and we were going to move them to the local morgue to practice the autopsy when you arrived. Now that you have seen them, I will give the order to charge them in the ambulances. To the others, there will be no necessity to charge, because their death is obvious, and it has been already determined by the medical examiner. Your mother was beheaded, according to what you have verified, and your father died by skull flattening, surely resisting to the attack. Do you have something to object about this diagnostic? I moved the head negatively, and I uncovered the body of my dad. The strike came from above, discharged with a blunt object skillfully utilized, because it just sank 2 centimeters of the cranial vault, at the height of the brain. Uncle Kurt was as absent-minded before the lifeless body of Catalina, her sister. The ambulances had already taken Catalina and her sons, and the cops started to leave. I invited the commissar to a coup, and I signalized him many boxes of our best Suave Canyon, indicating him to distribute them to his men, forbidden act of courtesy by the police regulations, but that would be taken as an inhospitable gesture, if it is not offered. The commissar didn't delay to charge the boxes of wine, and reunite with me in the kitchen. Cold chablis, and crude ham, was consumed in quantity, while the tongue of the cop loosened. Then Uncle Kurt joined us. Who gave the new? I asked. The personal enters at 5 am, he replied. It seems that a Creole called George Luna was first who arrived. He was surprised at noticing that all the lights of the house were turned on, as in a party night, according to what he declared. Then he approached a kitchen, where his father was always drinking made from the 4:30 hours, but he didn't see anyone. So he began to walk around the house thinking that his father would be outside. The first signal that something bad had occurred was at finding the dog, literally spilled into 2 pieces, near to the Tahibos. Some meters from there was the corpse of Mr. Signal, with a shattered skull. At first sight, and speculating a little, continued the commissar, I'd tell you that at least 2 accomplices have intervened, maybe 3. 2 are indispensable to reconstruct the fact with certain logic, because it results evident that your father went out from the house requested by your mother, perhaps responding to an appalling scream at her, and he was surprised by the murderer's strike at the door. Once he peered, he received a strike that, according to the forensic, produced him the death in the act. There, George Luna found him, and ran with his bicycle to the commissariat to search for help, while he warned the rest of the operators that arrived to not approach to the property. Ms. Beatrice was found by us, next to the wine press. Presumably from there your father called him, before being murdered, and we believe that she was taken out with deceits. was some minutes past the 0 hours, when the crime occurred. Improper are to go out voluntarily at the exterior of the house in people accustomed to wake up at 5 inches the morning. Of course, it is all about conjectures. Until no more elements be reunited, and the results of the expertises, we are not able to evaluate the facts very precisely. He interrupted himself, as every professional cotton don't want to compromise his opinion. I encouraged the commissar to continue with the description of what occurred, while the ham, slices and the coups of Chablis circulated. Forgive me, God. You ask me this, and I will have to respond you crudely, Echiro. The madman, who seized from your mother, dragged her until the wine press, perhaps gagged, and from there, he permitted her to scream to attract Mr. Signal to the trap that his accomplice tendered him. Once, your father was dead, both gathered to kill MS. Beatrice. You will wonder, how I can be so sure? Well, because, as the forensic medic deducted, to kill in that way 4 hands are necessary. That is to say, 2 to subject the victim, and 2 to practice so perfect gash from ear to ear. 4 hands would have not been necessary, if the victim was unconscious, but this is not the case, because none hit on the head, or signs of narcotics were found. We must wait for the analysis to be secure, and, the most concrete, there are footprints, which reveal the existence of a desperate resistance, until exhale the last breath. I felt as fainting, that all turned around me, that the nausea gained my stomach, the throat. I hesitated in the chair, about to vomit. Drink a coup, Echiro. Come on, drink. You need it. The commissar insisted, giving me the coup filled with white wine. I drank it, in one drink, and with faith, that I never felt so good one of our strains. It was foreseeable that you would decompose, it was too much hideous, and repugnant what has happened this night in your house. Are you sure that you want to know it all now? You could rest some hours and know it later, when you be more calm. No. No. Please, Commissar. I begged. It has been just an ephemeral dizziness. Tell me everything now, the sooner the better. And here comes the worst, Echiro. MS. Beatrice was fastened in such manner, that at being beheaded, the murderers achieved that the blood fell entirely in the wine press, until the last gout. The commissar was looking as perplexed. He wanted to surprise us with that macabre event, but we didn't change our countenances, because we imagined the ritual maneuvers of Beret and Bishar, and we discounted that its objective would be to use the precious pure blood of the von Sabema to try to exterminate the entire lineage, as they did in the 13th century with the House of Tharsis. On the other hand, said the commissar, I would like you to explain me something that intrigued us all. Anything you want to know, Commissar, is about the wine press. Which is its capacity? Well, if I remember correctly, some 20,000 liters, I replied. And can I know, for what the hell, they filled it with tar?